But don't forget to watch us, which you can do on your computer, your mobile device. Just head on over to SuperTalk TV. And it's always a good thing to stay updated on the resources available for those in Mississippi who are looking to address their addiction. And I learned of a new one recently. I don't know if it's new to the area, but at least it's new to me, which means it may be new to you. And that's Saving Grace Women's Home. And joining us today is Miss Deanna. She's the executive director, along with Brandi, who's with a marketing director with the home. So welcome.
Thank you so much.
So good to have both of you here. It's so good to talk about these different resources. Deanna, we'll start with you. Saving Grace Women's Home. So there's a location obviously here in Mississippi, but give us kind of the backstory about the home and its mission.
Okay, so there's actually 5 locations. We have one here in Mississippi, located in the Jackson-Brandon area. We can house up to 26 ladies, and it's a 12-month, it's a faith-based home that's completely free for women to come. A lot of times people think of alcohol, drugs as the main recovery issue, but there's also traumas, there's other things, there's mental health issues. And so we are that place for 12 months to help them walk out their healing. We're not a shelter. We're a place to look at what's going on, dig up some roots, and let them walk that out for that 12 months.
Okay, so that's a little bit different. It's not just in terms of active addiction, although you may deal with that.
That is the most common.
But I think that's good to recognize, is there may be other issues in a woman's life where they need that 12 months to sort of heal and be able to come back to their families and the best version of themselves, and it can take a little bit more hands-on, I guess, help to get that done.
Most definitely, and the 12 months is really necessary. There's a lot of different programs out there, different avenues, but we have learned, it's biblically that there's the parable of the barren fig tree. And when that farmer said, hey, let's give it 12 more months, the 12 more months is necessary. There's a lot of things that we don't understand. People don't become addicts or alcoholics or struggle with things because they're bad people. Those things happen because there's a deeper rooted issue that needs to be dealt with. And until we deal with that, we can't walk out the freedom and healing that we've been called to. And I speak from personal experience on that.
So, Brandi, how did you find your way to Saving Grace Women's?
So I was stuck in the cycle of addiction for on and off for 28 years. And the end of my addiction, I found myself in jail. And before that, like my life, I say I had a normal life. Like I had almost like the white picket fence type life where I have 2 children, Girl Scout troop leader, cheerleading coach for Little League, and like I had a career, and then life just took a turn for the worst. And so after, it was like April 2015, me and my kid's dad separated, and at that time I was like, my whole world completely, it turned upside down. And so I found myself reaching out to old friends, and I was introduced to methamphetamines. And so 2015 to 2019, tons of stuff happened. It was crazy. I was in and out of jail. And so the last time that I was in jail, my mom was like, you have to get your life together. You're either going to like lose your life and a relationship with us and like your children. And so, they found saving grace for me, and it was my saving grace. And I ended up being there in the program for 5 months, and I ended up leaving after 5 months, and I found myself back there 9 short months later, almost in liver failure. And so once I came back into saving grace the second time, because it was my idea, this time I just completely surrendered over to God. And so like December 12th, it'll be 4 years that I have been off of the streets, not homeless, out of addiction, and changed.
What a celebration. We love to celebrate recovery here, too, on good things. Obviously, there's the problem of addiction and all the other things, but when you hear about the stories of someone who walked through it and then came out on the other side, 4 years clean and sober, relationship with your children now?
Yeah, so my son now lives with me. Once I came to Mississippi, a door opened for him to be with me permanently. And then this week, I get to see my daughter. She's with her dad, but she is coming to Mississippi to go to a football game for her brother, and so I get to spend some time with her.
No,
Yeah.
I think that's wonderful. And the smile on your face, and you're giving families listening to Good Things hope, because, you know, it's not something that people just like to talk about or air their laundry or whatever, but more often than not, there are families who've been affected by some kind of addiction, whether they talk about it or not, and they can feel hopeless, Deanna. They can feel like, how can my story end up like Brandi's story? And you can't want it for them. They have to want it themselves. I like that you mentioned, Brandi, that it was your choice to sort of do that. And do you find that even with loving family members, it still ends up having to be that individual's individual choice to see it through?
As in, like,
Recovery.
Yes. So you have to, like, it is an individual choice. You know, like, our family members can want it so much for us, you know, and at the end of the day, it's our choice. You know, it's the individual's choice if they want to get help and they want to completely surrender, because that's what it's about. Is surrendering everything over, you know, to God, and He, like, just completely takes control.
And that's also what makes Saving Grace Women's Home a little bit different, Deanna, is y'all do have the faith-based component. How do you feel like that definitely makes a difference to maybe other routes that people can choose to go?
For me personally, like I said, I've walked this out myself. It's a personal journey for me, and I lost 2 parents of drug overdoses. So this, you know, I never thought that I was going to be an addict or an alcoholic and walk out this journey. But the faith-based part is there's a healing that takes place. There's one solution, and His name is Jesus. And that's where the ladies are allowed to come, and guess what? They're allowed to not be okay. It's okay to not be okay. We're not about modifying behavior. We want the ugly to come out. We want the hurt to come out, so there can be a healing not only in their heart but in their mind, because the world tells us it's not okay not to be okay. You need to be okay all the time. You've got to be strong. And we want this to be a place where they can just come and have a life transformation. Just say, okay, you know what? It stings right now. I can't do this. There's no hope. And little by little, those little faith builders that start to happen with our family visits, when family starts to reach out again, there's painful things that happen too, but they realize that they can continue to walk that out. And so walking that out in a biblical way versus trying to meet these expectations that the world tells us that we have to meet, it's exhausting. And nobody wants to do that. People don't use because they're bad people. They use because they want to avoid, because they're hurting, they want to numb things. And at Saving Grace, we want it to be a place where they can just say, you know, it's just not okay. I'm hopeless. And it's such a beautiful thing. We literally wake up and see miracles when someone goes, aha, you've seen someone angry for 3 months. Underneath that anger, there's hurt, there's rejection, there's abandonment. And when they realize that that doesn't have to define them anymore, there's nothing like it. And it's a process. Just because they get that aha, it doesn't change. 12 months. That's why we walk it out. So when they finish Saving Grace, are they fixed? No. Are they completely healed? No. But they're able to walk out a different life, and they're able, more than not, help other women walk it out, which gives them purpose in their pain.
So, Brandi, you made that choice after you found your healing or found your saving grace through the Saving Grace Women's Ministry. What encouraged you to give back, to come back to it and use it and keep going?
So I graduated our women's home in Texas, and so I think after just coming back the second time, I realized that, like, this is it, you know. I graduated the program. I ended up being like the house mom in Texas, and so just when I graduated the program, I knew that, like, going back home wasn't an option, and I knew that, like, God has used all the stuff that, you know, all that stuff in my past, he turned it into the good, you know. And so just being able to be there for the ladies and walk them through the process that I had to walk through. I remember my leadership, like, as I went through the program, and the role models that I had, and the counseling and the mentorship. And so, like, I wanted to be that. I want to be that for other ladies. And so who better than someone that's been through what they have been through, and, like, a lot of, like, just the relationships with them, just being there for them, just being able to see them smile and, like, get restoration with their family is probably it's like, that's payday. That's the reward, you know. And, like, just there's a lot of women with children, that want restoration with their children, and like I'm there to show them that it's possible, but also like, I mean, it's hard, but it's doable.
And we're going to learn more about the process at Saving Grace Women's Home FM. We're also streaming from that SuperTalk Mississippi app and your local SuperTalk Mississippi radio station. Don't forget about watching us, too. We are on your computer, your mobile device. Just head on over to SuperTalk TV. And real quick, college football is back. You guys know that. And while it's great to watch it on TV, we want you to be in the stands. And so C Spire and SuperTalk Mississippi are huddling up all season for the home ticket giveaway. We'll be giving away tickets to see Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Southern Miss home games all season long. Now this week it's Southern Miss. You guys are the only one with a home game, so you still got time to go to supertalk.fm/tickets to sign up for a chance to win. But we're continuing our conversations with the ladies from Saving Grace Women's Home here in Mississippi. It's one of 5 locations, right, Deanna?
It is.
And you guys take, is it 20, how many women can you take?
We can currently house 26 ladies at the Mississippi location.
And it's free.
Completely free.
It's a year-long process helping women from addiction to trauma response or anything else just to heal and get back to their families. And so I know it sounds like a silly question, Deanna, but how does it work?
Well, no. So basically, someone just needs a want to. They just need a desire, a revelation that something isn't working anymore and they need a change. We ask for a $1,000 induction fee, and a lot of times people are like, "Oh my goodness, how does that work? I've exhausted all resources." We have a scholarship fund, so that finances are never a reason. They just have to have a want to. So basically, they take that first step of faith and they make a phone call. They talk to someone in our intake department, whether it's Miss Jamie or Crystal or Brittany, and they walk them through. They let them know, hey, this is not just a shelter. You're here and you have a schedule from 6 a.m. when you wake up until you go to bed at night. There are Bible classes. There's prayer time. We also work in a shop where we make beautiful woodwork. We have a marketing department. We share all of those logistics with them and let them know, hey, this is what you're walking into. We don't want anyone to be surprised, and we want to set everybody up for success. We fill out an application that is pretty brief with them and go through the dynamics of things. Once Jamie has completed that intake process, then it comes to myself or Brandi, and we do what's called a second interview, and we just talk them through it. Hey, is this what you want? But it doesn't stop with us. If we are not what they are looking for, if we're not what we think will set them up for success, we'll look for other resources because we want to see people walk in the freedom that is available.
And sometimes it takes coming back again, and you welcome guys or gals, not guys, no guys, not in this one, but gals back sort of in that way. Right now, I mean, is it where it's like a revolving, I hate to say revolving door, but if once they've completed the 12 months, then do you have like a bed open up? That's when you can take someone else, Deanna?
Well, I'd love to tell you that everybody that walks through the door stays the whole 12 months. But sometimes when you have to look at yourself and you have to look at things, it doesn't always happen like that. So there is a commitment of the 12 months. But yes, whenever somebody graduates the program after the 12 months, they can stay on and they can do an internship, or we set them up with an exit plan if that's looking for an apartment or getting a job. Our goal, like I said earlier, is to set them up for success, whatever that looks like. And so we typically have about 20 ladies in our home consistently. But if we are full in Saving Grace, Mississippi, and we know that we can set somebody up for success, or we feel that we can, I should say, we'll place them in one of our other homes that is outside of Mississippi, and we'll pay for the transportation to get them there.
So, Brandi, you may have family members listening to Good Things, or maybe a lady herself who thinks, man, that sounds wonderful, 12 months to just focus on myself, to address the things. You don't have to necessarily have hit rock bottom and wind up in jail to reach out for help, and you don't have to necessarily wait till your kids are taken away from you, right? So to that person who hasn't completely hit rock bottom, what would you say to them about, like, now, do it now before you're sort of forced into it, if that makes sense?
Yes. So unfortunately, I was never at that point. Actually, I was at the point of rock bottom. I never had anybody that was trying to help me prior to hitting rock bottom or making a choice to when I got there. And so my encouragement to people that are not at the rock bottom, or they know that they're just struggling, or that their life is going downhill, is to reach out. Try to start looking for a place, like Saving Grace to go into, or just have the courage to just step out in faith and get help. to speak it out loud, not to hide it, because a lot of times, like hiding, you don't want to admit that you have a problem with anything, with it, drugs, anything. It could be eating disorders, depression. Depression is a big one. A lot of people isolate. I guess my encouragement would be just to reach out,
And it's the feeling of being like in a group or feeling like it feels a little weird. How is the group setting helpful in the process?
So coming from a person that did not like being in crowds or around a lot of people, or that was super modest, or just I didn't like being around people, it really helped. It helped me bring me out of my shell, but it also helps with knowing that the lady that's sitting next to you is going through the same exact thing, no matter what it looks like. Yours could be addiction, the person to the left of you could be depression, but like there's just a trauma somewhere deep down inside of there. There's a root issue. And so like knowing that the people that you're surrounded by and surrounded with, like, are going through the exact same thing. And so like it might feel gross and yuck and uncomfortable, but like being vulnerable in those settings is like probably one of the best things.
It's part of the medicine for sure. Deanna, those who think, man, a year off my life, I just can't push the pause button for that. How do you help people recognize that a year can turn into a lifetime of more fruitful living?
When they say a year off their life, but how long have you been living in destruction and despair? A year is nothing compared to what God can do in that year will far exceed any expectation. And so you're worth a year. Your family is worth a year. It's a time where you need that healing. So literally allow him to part the Red Sea. Come in and let those things come up. And when you want to run, we'll walk it out with you. But the year is so necessary if you're looking to live a life, and a life full of fullness, and a life full of healing. Honestly, you won't look back and know. And there's one of the big greatest needs is women with children. And so many times we have women that come in and say, but my children. Let me tell you, both my parents died of drug overdoses. I watched everything that happened in their life. If you get it while they're young, you're breaking the cycle of addiction over their life, the cycle of depression, the cycle of trauma, whatever that is. Do it now before it's too late.
And Brandi, you can speak to that because now you've got your son back with you. You'll get to see your daughter coming up soon. You mentioned that you guys will be going to a football game. Which game are y'all going to?
Well, my son plays football for Pelahatchie High School, so it's just one of his high school games.
No, but that's a big deal.
It is a big deal, and he's super excited about it.
So I mean, because you have walked this recovery road out for 4+ years now. If you went back to 6 years ago, Brandi, could you imagine the life that you have now?
No. 6 years ago, I was in a really bad spot. And to just be sitting here and alive is
a miracle.
A miracle, like mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So like I just...
And every woman who, I guess, graduates through is considered a miracle or thinks about having that second chance sort of at life. So if they're listening, Deanna, and they want to step out and ask for help, how do they do that?
I'm going to say, first I want to tell them that they're worth it. If you are thinking at any point, you don't understand my story, you don't understand the choices I've made, the destruction that I've caused, you're worth it. And God can and He will. And so you can call our intake line, which is 866-648-8550, or you can go on our website, which is www.savinggracewh.com. So it would be www.savinggracewh.com. Reach out to us. Let us help you. Nobody is too far gone. We have a young lady who's in our program right now, and she shared with on her testimony, she shares often that she was standing at a crossroad about to cross the street, and she said to the Lord, just take my life now. I can't do it anymore. And today, 6 months into the program, she realizes He did take her life and He gave her a new one. And that's what it's about. It's about letting the hope be restored. And hearing Brandi share, sometimes we need to be reminded by those questions, Rebecca, like you ask her, would you have thought 6 years ago your life would be what it is now? And it's like, whoo. heart full of gratitude. And sometimes it's just putting that one foot in front of the other. Sometimes it's just picking up that phone or getting online.
Well, I appreciate you ladies and all that you're doing here in Mississippi for women. But you stick with us. We got more for you coming up next.